Hello and welcome back to Devlog. In this series, we're developing payroll software from scratch. And in this episode, we're implementing the department table, feature packed with update and create actions so our customers can easily manage their departments. Along with a snack bar and some Next.js tips and tricks, this is a slightly longer episode because we're setting the foundations of our user experience. Alright, first up, displaying the organization logo. Again, we already did this for the employee self-serve in previous episodes, so I won't bore you with the details. I just grabbed the image link from the organization model that we already have in this session. And we're done. Okay, that was a cosmetic ticket, way too easy. Let's get into the real tickets now. Displaying all departments in a lovely little table. To get this started, we need to set up the department's route, which in Next.js is just a new directory with a page component. We did quite a bit of this work in the last episode with the employee table, so we can reuse a lot of the code. Alright, navigating to /departments, we can see our page showing up. Coolio. Like the fantastic programmers that we were in the last episode, I'm going to duplicate the employee table and all of its components. From there, I'm going through all the files and swapping out the word employees for departments. If none of this looks familiar to you, please check out the linked episode to see how we initially set this table up. This is perhaps the easiest table we're going to cook since departments don't have much information yet. We'll display the department's name, of course, and a count of how many employees are assigned to it. Run it back, returning to the page component, we can now call the table component and pass it the department's data from our Prisma Query above. Hey, look at this, it's kinda scuffed, but it's working. It's displaying both our departments. Cut the cameras. Let's take a break from the table because I forgot to add sidebar navigation for this page. Not to worry, it's about the easiest thing we'll do in this episode. Matter of fact, it's already done. However, while we're here, let's clean up the sidebar by getting rid of all these extra elements we aren't using yet. Much better, some breathing room. But my goodness gracious, the sidebar code is a mess. So I took the liberty of cleaning it up with this reusable sidebar entry component, which takes an icon, a link, and title. Pretty straightforward, but a desperately needed improvement. Very cool. Alright, back to the table. Let's get these translation keys up and running. Nice. That's always so satisfying. Now we need to actually calculate the employee count for each department, and we can do this by modifying our Prisma query. All we need to do is include a count of employees. It's surprisingly very English. That's some good design. And then just to make our data nice and clean, we'll rename the count property to employee count. We can see in the console log that it's working. I'm assigned to R&D while Dave and Steve are assigned to design. Fantastic, incredible, that's the gist of it, so let's optimize the code and add some types here and there. Then all we need to do is display department.employeeCount. And of course, it's working perfectly. Alright, the table is looking good. We can sort on both the columns. We can search for a specific department. And the placeholder action menus are behaving correctly. But it feels like something is missing, and that something is a description column. A form with a single field is no fun, amongst, other real and professional reasons, let's add a description attribute to the department model. Once our migration passes, we can easily add the new column to the table, and voila, the table feels much more complete now, and look at this, the description does not overflow, it uses ellipses instead. How exciting is that? Alright, that's enough of this table. Let's push these changes up and move on to the next ticket, which also takes place on this table, creating and updating departments. Every night before bed, I log on to my favorite social media platform, Flowbyte. I scroll through hundreds of components and dream about using them. Well, today we're making my dream come true. We'll be using this modal, some of it, to create and update departments. Let's yoink the code and start off by just pasting it into our existing modal to see how it looks. Looks great, but we only need two fields, a name input and a description text area. So let's get rid of everything else. Bro, we're kind of cooking, I'm not gonna lie. And let's change these action buttons to discard changes and update department. I'll explain the discard button in a moment. I have an idea. Here's the code so far, a simple form with handlers for changing inputs and discarding changes. The handle change updates the form data state accordingly, while the handle discard sets everything to the initial state. I'm proud to announce that I've moved the actual modal logic to a separate reusable component. I know, I'm a front-end wizard, a guru if you will, what can I say? The rest of the form is just a normal form, so let's do a demo. Clicking on a table entry opens up its modal, which has name and description fields. If we edit the description, we can see that the update and discard buttons are enabled. But let's say my finger slipped, or someone's cat, I don't have one, someone's cat walked across my desk and the modal was accidentally closed. Oh my goodness, it's so over. Our beautiful description gone forever. Or is it? Reopening the modal, we can see that our changes are still here. Changes don't go away unless we refresh the page or discard them. Now, this might be over-engineered for a form with two fields, I know, but it's something we can apply throughout our app to improve the user experience. We can take a breath of relief before hitting the discard button to reset the fields for realsies. Very cool, very cool. Let's push these changes up before we implement the creation modal. Now for department creation, all we need to do is have one instance of the same modal available on the general table environment, which opens up when we click the add button. Easy as that, we are in business. Now let's actually connect to the database and make changes. We'll be using Next.js server actions to do this, which are basically just highly abstracted endpoints. For department creation, we'll pass in the name, description, and organization ID and use these to make a Prisma create request on the department model. The update function is very similar. Instead of the organization ID, we'll use the existing department ID to make an update request. Alright, let's create our form submission handler now, which will ignore the submission if no changes have been made. Or it'll make the appropriate server action call depending on if the user is updating or creating a department. Now that we got it set up, let's add some proper error handling to the server actions. If the creation or update fails, we can communicate that with the front end and see the error. Moment of truth, let's give it a try by updating the R&D department name and... oh, I have to hit refresh. But hey, look at that, the name has been updated. We can also create a sales department and see that creation works as well. This is going incredibly well. However, needing to refresh the page is definitely an ick, red flag, ew. Good news, I found this lovely solution by Danaz on GitHub, which calls a router refresh after we have updated the database. Super easy fix, I implemented this, and now the table updates immediately. This ticket is the gift that keeps on giving. I had a sudden burst of motivation to implement a snackbar that notifies the user if their create or update action was successful. This simple snack design from Flowbyte, our unofficial non-sponsor, is perfect. So I put together a snack context provider so we can render a snack whenever and wherever. Calling the createSnack method creates the snack element, waits 3.5 seconds, fades it out, and then removes it from the page after another half a second. The styling is quite easy. I just use Tailwind to do the exit animation by setting the opacity to 0 and translating the div downwards. And of course, we wrap our entire app with this context provider. Hey, not bad, my first snack bar. Take a look at this. It works pretty well and it looks pretty good, not gonna lie. Okay, last little thing before I show you the final results of today's work. I think this is a pretty neat trick that I just learned, want to share it with you. So with Intl, the translation library that we're using, you can create a conditional message with custom HTML. So here, if the action input is created, then it returns this message. And if it's updated, it returns this message. That's cool on its own, but I'm also using a custom HTML tag here. In the React code, we use the .rich method and pass in the message key, the action, the department name, and a custom function that renders the custom HTML tag we saw earlier, which is how we get the department name to be bold in the message. Isn't that kind of cool? The possibilities are like endless. Let's take a deep breath and cherish this episode's final commit. We are done. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Devlog. We have put together a complete department table with update and create actions using a beautiful and forgiving Modal. We also improved the user experience with a Snackbar context provider and the developer experience with a lot of code cleanup. I hope you enjoyed this episode and maybe learned something along the way. Make sure to subscribe to follow along and see where this project goes. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Yo, look at us. Isn't this kind of romantic? We're hanging out at the end of the episode, you know, sitting next to a campfire. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a campfire. You know, made it. Can you pass the marshmallows actually? Thank you. And might as well like the video while you're at it too, right? Thank you. That'd be cool. Thank you.